staying up for. Now on BBC One, the Boxing Day news with Reeta, Chakrabarti.
Tonight, Ukraine's Air Force hits a Russian warship in a port in occupied Crimea. Footage shows a huge explosion at the Black Sea port. Ukraine says it's destroyed or damaged 27 Russian naval vessels during the war. Searching for bargains on Boxing Day, but are the sales the major event they once were? The US airline who took a 6-year-old unaccompanied boy to the wrong destination.
And festive travel plans tomorrow could face disruption as Storm Gerrit bears down on the UK. We'll have all the weather news you need to know.
Good evening. A Ukrainian missile strike has damaged a Russian warship in the Black Sea. President Zelensky has said he's grateful to the country's air force for the attack and that Russian forces, in his words, won't have a single peaceful place in the country. Ukraine claims to have destroyed the Novocherkassk landing vessel in an airstrike on the port of Feodosia, which is 250 kilometres from the front line in Russian-occupied Crimea. Local officials say at least one person was killed. Our Ukraine correspondent James Waterhouse has sent this report.
For Ukraine, this was a high-value target. The Novocherkassk landing ship struck by a guided missile. The blast was colossal. Moscow claims it was only damaged. Kyiv says destroyed. It's going to need more than a lick of paint regardless. Crimea has been in Russia's grasp since 2014. But sites like this have become more common with Ukraine striking deeper into the peninsula. The Novocherkassk would have almost certainly been loaded with either soldiers, hardware, or both. Its loss will hamper Russia's ability to supply troops further north, as well as further weaken its naval dominance in the Black Sea. What attacks like these have yet to do is apply enough pressure on Moscow for it to surrender Ukrainian territory it has taken. But for Ukraine, for President Zelensky, it is a welcome announcement against a backdrop of waning Western support. It's already affecting Ukraine's frontline operations, and that's helping Russia with the capture of Marinka in the east. Moscow calls the devouring of this town liberation.
The main focus was to disrupt the Ukrainian counter-offensive, which was announced by Ukraine and its NATO allies. This task has been successfully completed.
Ukraine has only been able to liberate a few kilometres of its territory, and the head of its armed forces gave a sobering forecast for next year.
We're doing everything we can. Unfortunately, the enemy is not far behind us. You can see what is happening, especially recently. We're having powerful confrontations using various technologies.
In Feodosia, fragments of the ship were scattered for hundreds of metres. Strikes like this have chipped away at Russia's control, but their impact isn't always realised immediately. The problem for Ukraine is time is not its friend. James Waterhouse, BBC News, Kyiv.
Vladimir Putin's most vocal opponent, Alexei Navalny, has taken to social media to tell his supporters not to worry about him. Appearing for the first time in 20 days, he confirmed his arrival at an Arctic prison and said he was in good spirits. Mr. Navalny made his name in Russia as a campaigner against Kremlin corruption and was arrested almost 3 years ago. The post-Christmas sales have been in full swing today, but research suggests that shoppers will have spent less than they did last year. Major retailers such as M&S and John Lewis have decided to remain closed. So with pre-Christmas events such as Black Friday and the availability of early discounts online, are the Boxing Day sales the major event they once were? Our business correspondent Theo Leggett has been finding out.
Christmas may be over, but now it's time for the sales.
Everything is reduced up to 50%.
Here in Kingston upon Thames, the mood today was cheerful as curious shoppers sought out the best bargains. And across the country, it was a similar story.
It's the first time in a long time that we've come out on Boxing Day shopping. We normally do it online.
We were holding out for Boxing Day sales because we always come without the kids and it's time for us.
I just like the atmosphere because it brings a lot of people out, and it's the atmosphere and the busyness of being in the city where I love. That's what I like, the experience of that.
We're hoping to buy a few things in the sales. The shops are so busy we can hardly get in, to be honest with you.
I thought there's going to be more sale, more stuff, but it's less, so I'm kind of a bit disappointed.
It's just tradition, isn't it? Yeah.
Ever since I was a kid, my dad would bring me out, going around the shops.
Boxing Day itself used to be a huge sales event, but discount extravaganzas such as Black Friday have robbed it of some of its impact. Marks & Spencer, Next and John Lewis all chose to remain closed today. Yet Boxing Day is just the start. There's still plenty of time for people to think about going shopping before New Year.
Retailers need shoppers to come out in force this week. It's a vital time of year for them. But the big question is, with the cost of living still high and bills to pay, do consumers still have enough money to spend?
Early indications suggest that while shoppers did splash out more in the run-up to Christmas than they did last year, trading was far from spectacular.
There'll definitely be a temptation for people to buy at post-Christmas, but unfortunately we've just got a lot less money to spend. The cost of living crisis had a big impact on how much we spent over the Christmas period and could well do for the sales as well.
Research from voucher codes suggests we'll spend more than £14 billion in the shops and online between Christmas and the New Year, but that's still well down on 2022. For retailers, the next few days will be crucial. Boxing Day itself may not be what it once was, but the sales as a whole still really matter. What happens this week could lead retailers into a difficult winter, or set them on track for a prosperous new year. Theo Leggett, BBC News.
Israel has carried out fresh airstrikes in Gaza, saying it's hit more than 100 targets in the last 24 hours. It's promised to intensify the war against Hamas, designated a terror organisation by the UK government. Areas which the Israeli military had declared safe, such as Rafah in the south, were among those which were bombed. And there are fears that the conflict could spread further across the region. The United States has attacked an Iranian-backed militant group in Iraq, hours after American troops were injured in a drone strike. Our correspondent Shaima Khalil reports now from Tel Aviv.
Our things are gone, Mom, she says, standing in what used to be her home. Israel's bombing of Rafah in southern Gaza has continued, leaving those who fled there at a loss of where to go.
Israel claims that there are safe residential areas or secure zones, but this attack shows that that's a lie.
Israel's military operation has intensified in Khan Yunis, also in the south. Little Amal was home with her family. The bomb hit them and killed her uncle. We were sleeping. Then I heard a big bang, she said. Rocks fell on us. All our windows were shattered. Amal's baby sister is 3 days old. Baby Mariam is bearing the brunt of a conflict she was born into. The war in Gaza will last for months, said the head of the Israeli military, Herzi Halevi, vowing to reach the Hamas leadership.
There are no magic solutions. There are no shortcuts in dismantling a terrorist organization, only determined and persistent fighting. And we are very, very determined.
But this stance has only deepened the frustration among the hostage families. In Tel Aviv, many have gathered once again, saying they want their relatives out of Gaza, alive. Ophir Weinberg's cousin Itai is still in captivity.
This fight could take too long, and they need to look at other options, other leverages. It could go on, and the military pressure will continue, but we see they don't have any results.
The fallout from the war has already been felt outside its borders. Hezbollah operatives were targeted by the US and Iraq. The Pentagon said that the US forces carried out strikes against what it called Iran-sponsored militias in response to an attack on the Erbil air base. As the military operation deepens, other fronts grow more tense in already volatile areas of the region. Shaima Khalil, BBC News, Tel Aviv.
Let's take a look now at some other stories making the news today. Vitamin D deficiency, depression and diabetes are among a number of health issues that increase the risk of young onset dementia. A major new study suggests the condition, which affects around 70,000 people in the UK, is when symptoms of dementia develop before the age of 65. The study challenges the notion that genetics are the sole cause, and it also suggests that those with a higher formal education are less at risk. A number of residents in South Gloucestershire say they've been left with brown water following a burst water pipe. Bristol Water has apologised after thousands of homes were left without a supply yesterday. The company says the discoloration is not a health concern and people should leave taps running to clear it. A man has been arrested after a car crashed into a house in Grays in Essex yesterday, causing extensive damage. Police confirmed that the man was arrested on suspicion of dangerous driving and driving without a licence. No one inside the house was hurt. The former Antiques Roadshow expert Henry Sandon has died at the age of 95. He was one of the longest-serving contributors on the programme, making his first appearance in 1979. His son John said he'd been like a favourite uncle to millions of viewers. A major US airline has apologised after mistakenly putting a 6-year-old boy travelling alone for the first time on the wrong flight. John Donnison has the story.
For 6-year-old Casper, this Christmas wasn't so much home alone as flown alone. He was meant to be travelling unaccompanied from Philadelphia to Fort Myers to meet up with his grandma, but a mix-up at check-in meant he somehow ended up on a plane to Orlando.
They told me, no, he's not in this flight. He missed his flight. I said, no, he could not miss his flight because I have the check-in tag. I ran inside the plane to the flight attendant and I asked her, where's my grandson? He was handed over to you at Philadelphia. She said, no, I had no kids with me.
In a statement, Spirit Airlines apologised and said, we take the safety and responsibility of transporting all of our guests seriously and are conducting an internal investigation.
How did that happen? Did they get him out the plane? Did the flight attendant, after mom handled him with paperwork, did she let him go by himself and he jumped in the wrong plane by himself?
For now, though, after a worrying few hours, Casper has been reunited with his grandma. John Donnison, BBC News.
Time for all the sport now. Here's Sarah Mulkerrins at the BBC Sports Centre. Hi, Sarah.
Thank you. Evening. It's been a busy Boxing Day of football. Match of the day follows the news, so if you don't want to know the results, you know what to do. Liverpool have gone top of the Premier League for 48 hours at least after a 2-0 win at relegation strugglers Burnley. Darwin Núñez and Diogo Jota with the goals at Turf Moor. While at Old Trafford, Celtic are 5 points clear at the top of the Scottish Premiership after beating Dundee 3-0 at Dens Park. They next faced rivals Rangers, who are second in the table with 2 games in hand in the Old Firm derby on Saturday. Joe Wilson watched the action.
Brendan Rodgers knows very well what managing Celtic is like. The opponents change, expectation doesn't, and they all realise how well Rangers are playing. Against Dundee, Celtic had 19 attempts on goal in the first half alone, but could they score? No, not yet. The first goal eventually came when the ball eluded Dundee keeper Trevor Carson. 52nd minute, still time after this for Dundee to get back into the match. There were flashes of creativity and 26% possession for the home side, officially. Well, only goals count, and Celtic secured the match with a homegrown scorer. Mikey Johnston might have thanked the keeper a bit for that one, but this is the finishing Celtic fans appreciate. His second, 3-0 here, they play Rangers again before the end of the year. Joe Wilson, BBC News.
There were 2 Welsh derbies in the United Rugby Championship. Cardiff beat Dragons by 55 points to 21 in the first. Thomas Williams scoring the 7th of their 9 tries at Cardiff Arms Park, while Ospreys got their first win at Parky Scarlets since 2015, beating Scarlets 25-11. Hewick, a horse bought for just £800, was the dramatic winner of the King George Chase at Kempton. One of the favourites, Shiskin, slipped while leading after the second-last fence, leaving Brave Man's Game and Allaho in control. However, Hewick, ridden by Gavin Sheehan and trained by Shark Hanlon, came from last to first to claim the victory. And that, Reeta, is all the sport for me for the moment.
Thank you, Sarah. Now, before we get the all-important weather forecast, let's take a look at some festive revellers who braved the North Sea this morning to take part in the annual Boxing Day dip at Seaburn in Sunderland. Around 250 hardy souls donned fancy dress for the plunge, or paddle in some cases, where they found the water temperature was a bracing 4 degrees or so. Glad that wasn't me. Time now for a look at the weather. Here's Ben Rich. And Ben, another storm in the offing.
Yes, glad it was today and not tomorrow, because not a great day for a dip, to say the least, tomorrow. In fact, as Reeta mentioned there, we do have another storm on its way. Storm Gerrit, named by the Met Office. This is going to bring a combination of rain, snow and gales that I think will cause some quite significant travel disruption through the rest of tonight and into tomorrow. Now, right now, temperatures in the far north of Scotland under clear skies are well below freezing. But milder air is pushing in from the southwest with this vast shield of cloud and some outbreaks of heavy rain. That rain driving its way northwards and eastwards through the night. Bit of snow over high ground in the Peak District, the Pennines, the southern uplands, and then snow really starting to develop over high ground in the northern half of Scotland. Very windy around some of these western coasts. Temperatures really coming up from the south by the end of the night as our storm really makes its presence felt for tomorrow. This frontal system driving outbreaks of heavy rain northwards and eastwards, and let's catch up on that snow falling in the northern half of Scotland, because here, as that snow really piles up, we could easily see 15 centimetres of snow over high ground, but over the highest ground I think we could see 20 to maybe 30 centimetres of snow. Combine that with the really strong winds, there will be blizzards in northern Scotland. Rain for many of us, maybe 90 millimetres of rain over high ground in northwest England, the hills of Wales, so there will be flooding. The gales that we will see around many of our coasts could well cause some damage and some disruption. Gusts of 70 to maybe 80 miles per hour in the northeast of Scotland. Temperatures, well, the least of our worries really, but it will be turning milder for many, particularly down towards the south. Now, the wind's picking up even more, I think, around coasts of Wales, the west of England through tomorrow night. Also really windy across the Northern Isles. Could see blizzards for a time across Shetland. Plenty more blustery showers to take us through Thursday. So if your travel plans do take you across the UK on Thursday, bear in mind those strong winds, those heavy downpours could cause some further disruption. And then what about the outlook for the rest of the week and indeed, of course, the rest of the year? Well, it does remain very unsettled. We'll see bouts of heavy rain pushing across the UK. Actually, we could see some particularly stormy weather once again as we start the weekend on Saturday. A little bit chillier for some of us for the end of the year. That means there could be some winteriness mixing in with the showers. It looks like those temperatures, though, will start to head up again into the start of 2024. But a lot going on between now and then. Reeta.
Thank you very much, Ben. And that is all from me this evening. There's plenty more, as always, on our website. But from all of us on the Boxing Day team, good night.
What do you think? Where do I start?